The Middle East remains one of the world's most geopolitically sensitive regions, and tensions between Israel and Yemen have recently escalated, bringing new dimensions to an already complex situation. Israel, a technologically advanced military power, and Yemen, strategically backed by Iranian proxies, are at odds in a conflict that could potentially reshape the region. But what would happen if these two nations were to engage in full-scale war? And how would it affect the broader geopolitical landscape of the Middle East? The proxy conflict, Iran's role. Israel's growing conflict in the Middle East has shifted from dealing with isolated entities in Palestine to confronting a broad network of Iranian-backed militant groups. This so-called axis of resistance, which includes factions in Syria, Lebanon, the Palestinian territories, and Yemen, has been receiving consistent financial and military support from Iran. Tehran's goal is to challenge Israel without direct involvement, thus avoiding retaliation from Israel's allies, particularly the United States. Iran's indirect strategy involves spreading Israel's military efforts across multiple fronts, keeping its own involvement subtle enough to avoid provoking a direct military response. This strategy has allowed Iran to pursue its objectives while avoiding international backlash, strengthening its influence in the region and complicating Israel's ability to concentrate its military efforts on a single front. By supporting multiple militant groups, Iran has effectively expanded its reach, turning small conflicts into a larger geopolitical chess game. Escalating maritime tensions. As tensions between Israel and Hamas peaked in late 2023, the Houthis intensified their attacks on Israeli ships. Their piracy in the Red Sea led to significant losses for Israeli trade, forcing Western allies like the United States and the United Kingdom to intervene. In January 2024, the U.S. launched over 100 missile strikes targeting Houthi military sites in Yemen in an attempt to suppress the attacks. Despite these efforts, the Houthis persisted, leading to further economic damage. The Suez Canal, a crucial artery for global trade, reported a 23% decrease in revenue during the 2023 to 2024 fiscal year as the number of ships passing through the canal dropped, with many opting for longer, more expensive routes to avoid Houthi attacks. This maritime conflict, while seemingly focused on Israel's trade, has broader implications as it affects global shipping and could have long-term economic consequences for multiple countries reliant on these trade routes. The persistence of the Houthis in this area highlights their strategic value as a proxy for Iran, disrupting not only Israeli interests but also the broader stability of international commerce. A new chapter in the conflict: direct strikes on Israeli soil. While Israel's air defense systems, bolstered by U.S. intelligence, have successfully intercepted most of the missiles launched from Yemen, this changed in July 2024 when a Houthi drone managed to bypass Israel's defenses and hit a building in Tel Aviv. The attack, which killed one Israeli civilian, marked a significant escalation in the conflict. The Houthis claimed responsibility and attributed their success to a new drone model supplied by Iran, which they said could bypass Israeli air defenses. This incident represents a turning point as it not only signals the growing sophistication of Houthi military technology, but also suggests that Israel's much-praised Iron Dome and other defense systems are not infallible. The psychological impact of the attack on Tel Aviv, a major city and symbol of Israel's security, cannot be understated. The Houthis' ability to strike the heart of Israel could embolden other Iranian proxies, forcing Israel to rethink its defensive strategies and perhaps reconsider the broader implications of its regional security policies. Military comparison: Israel versus Yemen and the Houthis. When comparing the military strength of Israel and Yemen, the balance of power is clearly in Israel's favor. Israel's population of 9.5 million supports a military force of 170,000 active troops and nearly 500,000 reserves, while Yemen's official military numbers stand at 66,000 without any reserve forces. The Houthis, by comparison, are believed to have approximately 20,000 fighters, though this figure is subject to variation as the conflict with Israel and Hamas has reportedly boosted their recruitment efforts. Despite their smaller numbers, the Houthis have remained a resilient force, bolstered by Iranian technology and resources, which have allowed them to punch above their weight in asymmetric warfare. Israel, on the other hand, benefits from advanced U.S. military technology and years of combat experience, giving it a decisive edge in terms of firepower, intelligence, and coordination. Nevertheless, the nature of the conflict, spanning different countries and involving various proxy forces, makes it difficult for Israel to decisively neutralize the Houthis without engaging in a broader, potentially more destabilizing regional war. In terms of military equipment, Israel's advantage is even more pronounced. The Israeli Defense Forces possess over 1,300 tanks compared to Yemen's mere 55, along with tens of thousands of armored vehicles, anti-tank guns, and missile launchers. Israel also boasts a formidable air force with 241 fighter jets, including state-of-the-art US-made F-35 aircraft. Yemen, by contrast, has just 53 aircraft, most of which are older Russian models that are no match for Israel's technologically superior fleet. These disparities extend to naval forces as well, with Israel's fleet, although mostly stationed in the Mediterranean, possessing advanced submarines and corvettes that give it an advantage in both offensive and defensive maritime operations. Despite these overwhelming odds, the Houthis have demonstrated a capacity for resilience, relying on guerrilla tactics, asymmetric warfare, and strategic alliances to keep Israeli forces on their toes. It is this unpredictability, fueled by Iran's steady support, that has prolonged the conflict and prevented a swift resolution. Iran's influence and the geopolitical stakes. Despite Yemen's military inferiority, the conflict's broader significance lies in Iran's involvement. As the primary backer of the Houthis, Iran's aim is to prolong the conflict without becoming directly involved. This allows Tehran to avoid further economic sanctions and maintain plausible deniability, all while keeping Israel's military efforts stretched thin. Iran's strategy of arming and supporting proxy groups allows it to project power across the Middle East without risking a direct confrontation with Israel or its allies. This tactic of indirect engagement has not only prolonged the conflict, but also shifted the regional balance of power, placing Israel in a precarious position as it faces threats on multiple fronts. The continued tension between Israel and Iran underscores the broader geopolitical struggle for influence in the Middle East, with Iran seeking to assert dominance over the region through its proxies, while Israel is forced to confront these threats without escalating to full-scale war. Should Israel escalate the conflict with a direct war on Yemen, it risks retaliation not just from the Houthis, but from other Iran-backed factions closer to home, such as Hezbollah in Lebanon. Iran itself is unlikely to engage in a direct confrontation with Israel, given the risk of U.S. intervention, but its influence over regional proxies remains a key factor in the conflict's dynamics. If Iran continues to funnel resources to its proxies without facing significant repercussions, it could embolden these groups to ramp up their efforts against Israel. This would create a volatile situation in the region, where a single miscalculation could ignite a larger conflict, dragging in other regional and international powers. The delicate balance of power in the Middle East, shaped by proxy wars and strategic alliances, means that any escalation could have far-reaching consequences not just for Israel and Yemen, but for the entire region. Thank you for watching. If you found this video insightful, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and share your thoughts in the comments below. Also, be sure to hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you never miss an update.